Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to solve this CodeForces questions pizza time. So, what does the question says? The question says, how and Alex are good friends. After winning a coding competition together, they received a huge pizza as their prize. Initially, there are given n slices of pizzas. Each day, the following process takes place. If there are at most two slices remaining, Alex eats all of them. Otherwise, let m be the current number of slices where m is greater than equal to 3. How splits them into three groups of sizes m1, m2 and m3 such that m1 plus m2 plus m3 is equal to m, which is quite obvious, and 1 is less than equal to m1 is less than equal to m2 and is less than equal to m3. So here we can see Alex then how eats m1 slices the smallest group, and Alex eats m2 slices the middle group, and the remaining m3 slices the largest group are carried over to the next day. So our task is to determine the maximum total number of slices how can eat if he always chooses the partition optimally. Okay, and these are the input formats which is given. We have to take the inputs in this format. Test cases will be t and n will be given. N is the initial number of pizza slices, right? And we have to print the maximum total number of slices. How can eat? So we can see here in the question that how is always eating the smallest group. So what is happening in this question is we have some number of pizza slices and we have to divide that into groups, and each group of size m1, m2 and m3. And how is eating the smallest group? This is m1 and I have to calculate the maximum total number of pizza slices that how can eat if he chooses the partition optimally. Okay, so from here example test case I can clearly see here that this is 3 is the number of test cases, and 8, 4 and 3 are the my separate test cases. So let's say when my n is 8, it is also given here in the explanation note that when n is 8, the optimal way to partition the total number of pizza slices is m1 is equal to 2, m2 is 3 and m3 is also 3. So if we do this partition, then how we'll be eating 2 slices, and Alex eats 3 slices and the remaining 3 will be carried over to the next day. Similarly, when n is 4, then I can into m split m1 is equal to 1, m2 is equal to 1 and m3 is equal to 1. If we do this, then how eats single, and Alex eats a slice and the remaining slice 1 is carried over to the next day. But you might be thinking over here that here m1 plus m2 plus m3 is 3, but here in the example test case, in the second test case, here here in the second test case it is given the n is 4, and when the number of slices is less than 3, then the remaining number of slices will be eaten by Alex itself. You can clearly see it is also given here. If there are at most two slices remaining, if there are at most two slices remaining, it means the number of slices is less than equal to 2, then all the slices will be eaten by Alex itself, right? So I can think of in a greedy way, because I have to maximize the total number of slices how can eat. So what I will do is, let's say n is given 8 and all these test cases are very simple, you can clearly see here. But let's say when my n is let's say 13. So when my n is 13, what I can do, since I have to make three groups out of it and I want how to eat as much as possible, so at minimum the size of one group could be what? I could make the size of one group will be n by 3, because each group should have size at least n by 3, so that I can make a proper partition for all the number of pizza slices. So here n is 13 and my n by 3 will be 4 if I do an integer division. It means that I could divide the total number of pizza slices as 4, 4, and 4 plus 4 is 8, and the remaining 5 will be for the third day, or the value is n3. So 4, 4, 5, I can see an optimal partition. So similarly, here, if I take this partition, the how will be getting the maximum number of pizzas as 4, because my m1 here is 4. I have divided it into m1, m2, and m3. m1 is 4, m2 is 4, and m3 is 5. So from here, I can clearly see that answer till now, the how will be eating total 4 number of pizza slices for the first day, and still I have remaining 5 pizzas for the next day, which is the value of m3. So that 5 pizza slices will be carried over to the next day, and when it is carried over to the next day, so now my n becomes 5. From 13 my n becomes 5, and again I have to divide 5 into 3 optimal groups. So each group I can assign how many pizzas. It's clearly simply n by 3, because I have to divide total pizzas into 3 parts. So n by 3, so here 5 by 3 will be 1 if I do the integer division. So I can do the partition, optimal partition, as 1, 1, and the remaining number of pizzas, which is 3. You can clearly see here, right? So by this and from this, I can, my m1 becomes 1, m2 becomes 2, and n3 becomes 3. So here I can again see that how will be eating one pizza. So how already have eaten 4 pizzas, and now how will eat one more. So 4 plus 1 is 5 now. And now my m3, my m3 is 3, which will be carried over to the next day. So similarly, my now m becomes 3, right? And I have 3 pizzas, and I have to divide it into 3 groups. So it is simple. I can simply assign 1, 1, 1 pizzas to each. So 1, 1, 1. So m1 will be 1, m2 will be 1, and m3 will also be 1. So from here, I can also see that again the value of m1 is 1. The value of m1 is 1, and how again will be eating one more pizza. So how had already eaten 5 pizzas, so 5 plus 1, now it becomes 6. And again the value of m3 is 1, which means that one pizza slice will be carried over to the next day. But you can see it is given in the question that when the number of pizzas are at most 2 or less than equal to 2, then that number of pizzas will always be eaten by the alex itself, so it will not contribute to my answer. So I don't have to take care of that. When my m is less than equal to 2, I can clearly stop the operation out there, right? So this is the thing, and yeah, this is the main thing you should take care of. m1 can be less than equal to m2, can be less than equal to m3. So this equal to sign is very important here, because this equal to allows me to divide the group into, to divide my n number of pizzas by 3 itself, because I want to assign or make the partitions optimally, because I want how to eat as much as possible. That's why I have clearly divided the n by 3. It means that at most I can divide n into n by 3 number of pizzas per slice, per partition. That's why I divide n by 3 and start assigning m1, m2 as much as possible, because m1 is the variable which will be contributing to my answer, and m1 is the slice, number of slice that how eats, and I have to find the answer for how only. That's why I am doing this, right? So I hope it is clear for most of you. And I would also like to say that this video is not for beginners, because I haven't shown you the dry runs and everything. I have just only explained the logic. I haven't seen you the dry runs, but I will show you the code that how to do the coding of it. So let's go to the coding part now. So you can see here, this is my coding platform, the VS Code. It's quite famous, and this is my template. You can clearly see it's a very simple template. Simply include bits, std, css, that's libraries, and namespace, stds, macros. I have defined int as long wherever I write int, it will be interpreted as long. And this is the simple function, void function. This is my main function. It is taking t number of test cases, and I am iterating, or I am calling basically this solve function for t number of test cases. These two lines are basically for the buffering and caching part, which makes your which makes your C++ very faster. So by the way, these things are not very important. Let us see the input format, that how we have to take the input, and we have to proceed further. The input format here is, you can see this t number of test cases, it is already been taken, and just a single n. So I can clearly take an n over here, int n, and after taking this n, I just have to calculate the answer. Okay. So firstly, let us take the answer variable as 0. That will be contributing my answer, that will accumulate my answer. So what I said, I have to divide the n number of pizza slices into 3 groups, and I have to keep on doing this until the number of pizza slices is greater than equal to 3. You can clearly see here this, where m is this, because if m is less than equal to 2, it means that it won't be contributing to my answer. How will not eat that? Alex eats all of them. So I have to keep on checking until my n is greater than equal to 3. That's so I can write a while loop as n is greater than equal to 3, right? So now, since my n is greater than equal to 3, so what will be the maximum size of m1? I had told you that we will simply divide n by 3 to give each size, to give each group as much possible as the number of pizzas, so that the group size will increase, and how there will be high chance of how eating maximum number of pizza slices. So I can write int eat is the number of pizza slices that how will be eating, so n by 3, and in my answer I will have to include this eat again. So after assigning this, what will happen is my the value of m3, m1, m2, and m3 will get changed. Okay, and what was I assigning the values to there? I have only divided n by 3, so my n by 3 becomes m1. Since m1 is less than equal to m2, I have also assigned m2 the same value as m1, and the remaining values will be given to m3, which is carried over to the next day. So here I have calculated this m1, or rather I should write m1, it will be much more better to understand this m1. So m1 is now n by 3. M2 is also n by 3, because it is given that m1 is less than equal to m2, and this m1 and m2 are equal over here. So what is the value of m3 now? The value of m3 will be nothing but n my is equal to n minus 2 into m1. Is it clear or not? You can see, or you can see here that since the value of m1 and m2 are equal, both are m1 m1, and n was the total number of pizza slices. So I am simply just dividing the total number of pizza slices minus 2 into m1, which is m1 plus m2. So this will give me m3, and m3, now this m3, my m3 becomes n, which is carried over to the next day, right? That's why my n becomes now this m3. Okay, and after doing all these things, this will keep on doing until my n is greater than equal to 3. If my n is less than 3, then obviously Alex will be end up eating those pizza number of slices, so that won't be contributing to my answer. And after breaking out of the loop, after completing this loop, I can simply see out the answer. And hopefully I think this will work. So let's check if it is passing it or not, if everything is working fine or not. Let me check. Yeah, this is getting passed over here, so hopefully this will get accepted in the here also. Just try to submit this. Pizza time, right? Pizza cp a, it was a question. Pizza time. Yeah, you can see it's clearly get accepted. Thank you. I hope it was good. Thank you.